Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the StarCraft II World Championship Series interview series from home to hero. This time, we've got Evil Geniuses Suppy joining us. I'm DJ Wheat, and this set of interviews is kind of to learn more about the players that are going to be competing at the Battle.net World Championship. And without further ado, I'm happy to bring onto the show EG.Suppy. What's up, buddy?
Nothing much, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We've had the chance to do some Kings of Tin together, and we've chatted together, but I've never, gotten the chance to sit down and actually interview you. So what a great thing to actually be interviewing you for, representing the U.S. in, of course, the BWC that is coming up next month. So thank you for joining us, Suppy. And I'm going to go ahead and just start kicking off questions, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So first and foremost, why don't you give us the interview rundown, who you are, where you're from, and let's just top it off with kind of how you got into gaming.
Okay. So I'm Conan EG.Suppy Liu, and I'm from California. I was actually born in Maine, but I grew up in California. And how I got into gaming, well, my older brother, who's 6 years older than me, basically introduced me. We first started playing Super Nintendo and then Nintendo 64. Eventually we started getting into PC games, and we played Fastest for Brood War and whatever. And we saw some Boxer highlight videos, and that's basically how I got involved in competitive StarCraft. That's when I really started to try and compete in video games.
So, a lot of players that are playing StarCraft II, they've got RTS backgrounds. Some, go all the way back. I played Dune 2. Some, maybe they came from something like Supreme Commander, Warcraft 3. You came from I guess this brother of StarCraft II, and that's Brood War. Can you tell me a little bit more about, was it just seeing this amazing player, Boxer, just do what he did that made you say, well, God, I want to be that good at the game? Or was that just kind of how you got into it? And then what happened after that?
Basically, we watched the highlight videos, and we were like, holy crap, we did not know this was even possible. Like how he was like lifting tanks up into his, not his medevacs, his dropships. And he was just dodging lurker spikes all over the place with his Marines. It was just insane. So we got really, really enthusiastic about it, and it really got us interested in the competitive scene. And we watched, some Koreans commentating, and then, the typical yelling, screaming Korean. It just made, it just made it really, really interesting. So we were both definitely very interested in it. So we tried out 1v1 for the first time. So that's how we got into it.
And I imagine if you're competing in the BWC, but your friends aren't, that you are the one kicking all their asses.
I guess eventually I started to, but
it did start out that way. You were the whipping boy then.
Yeah. He would beat my brother, at least. He would beat me all the time, and that kind of motivated me to get better. So that's kind of how I got motivated to start playing more competitively. As
far as I'm concerned, brotherly rivals is really what fueled my sort of competitive spirit as I was growing up. Whether it actually didn't matter. It was just like constantly that brotherly feud, who can be the best at this game. So at what point, like how long did it take before you started pulling ahead, and you were obviously the RTS prodigy of the family?
I'd say maybe about a year, maybe something like that. I just kept laddering, and eventually I was able to finally beat him. And I remember I was really excited. It was like some really crazy game. We were both still really bad back then. And it was like I went like one base carrier or something, but I ended up beating him, and it was really fun. So
did you play Zerg in Brood War?
Yeah, I started off Protoss, but then I switched to Zerg, and I spent a majority of my time playing on ladder and stuff with Zerg. I did start off playing Protoss though, but I was mostly Zerg for most of Brood War.
Okay. Now, before we actually get into the Battle.net World Championship and sort of the qualifiers and everything that you did to make it there. Let's just rewind a little bit and talk about kind of Suppy, the StarCraft 2 player. Now you're a college student at University of California, Berkeley. So first and foremost, is it tough to sort of juggle playing the game and school right now?
Yeah, it's always been kind of a balancing act, and I think it all comes down to time management. I've actually taken the minimum amount of classes I could for this semester since I knew I'd probably be busier with StarCraft than before. And traveling is definitely an issue because it makes me have to miss classes pretty often. That said, I'm still doing pretty well in school, and I'm hoping to continue that. And I'm just hoping that I can manage my time better so I can do both StarCraft and school at the same time. And yeah, actually, I almost wasn't going to be able to go to Shanghai because I thought I'd have to miss too many classes for it. But things just happened to work out just barely, so I'm able to go. So it'll be really fun.
Perfect, perfect. So you're also the head coordinator and the ace for your school's collegiate Star League team, and I personally find the the CSL to be an amazing thing. Not only in terms of what it kind of does to bring those school rivalries that exist in traditional sports and even introduce them into StarCraft 2, and it even goes back as far as Brood War. So my question to you is, did you have any involvement in some of the early college Star League Brood War stuff?
Yeah, I did actually. My first LAN ever. I think I was like 12 or something, and I came to Berkeley. I lived around Berkeley to begin with, and that was my first LAN ever. And I don't know. I just felt really excited. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I get to meet a lot of really cool people.
How many people were there?
Maybe like 25 or something.
Right on.
So it was one of those small things, but it was still really cool. So I actually started organizing LANs like pretty soon after. I was a sophomore in high school, so I was like 16, I think. And I actually went over to Washington, D.C., where I was doing this summer internship thing. And I organized a LAN because, I was still really into StarCraft. I wanted to meet some people around there, and they had never had a LAN before. So I organized one there. And actually, Mona Hazelnut, she's the founder of CSL. She actually lives around the area. So she came out, I met her, and I met a lot of really cool people over there. So when I came back to Berkeley, I started organizing a ton of LANs. And I've organized like 10 LANs now in Berkeley. So, I mean, I wasn't involved in forming CSL, but, I've been doing other organized events for Brood War and gaming in general since I was 16 or so.
And you've also done some commentating, both in Brood War, right? Like, you're kind of known as like one of the first Brood War YouTube commentators. Is this accurate?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Actually, you and Tasteless were my inspiration. I remember watching WCG 2008, and I really wanted to get into commentary. I thought it'd be really fun. It'd be really cool. Unfortunately, at the time, I was, not too knowledgeable about the game, and I had a really high-pitched voice, so I can't say that my commentaries were very well received, but it was fun.
Did that help you with playing at all, or was it just something that, it's like, hey, I kind of enjoy doing this. It's fun.
I think, I think in some ways it might have maybe motivated me to play, because I just remember I used to read all the YouTube comments, and it's like, wow, this guy's like D- noob. He's so bad. He doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. And so I don't know. I kept playing. There was two options basically. Either I could keep playing and try and get really good, or I could just quit because people were being really mean to me. So I really love StarCraft, so I decided to stay, and I kept playing, and eventually I did start making some small improvements every season.
So then let's talk a little bit about your transition from Brood War to StarCraft 2. How did this happen? Were there any other RTS loves in between there, or was it just like, hey, I love the first game, I'm getting into the second one, and well, look at me, I'm now playing on a pro team? How did that all happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm kind of a one game kind of guy. kind of monogamous in that sense, I guess. Uh, I dabbled a little bit in Counter-Strike and MOBA type games like Dota, but I've never really played them too much. I just kind of played a little bit of them. They're fun. I definitely like those kind of games, and obviously Super Smash is a fun game, but I've never really focused a lot on those games. I've just sort of played them with friends, but my main game has always been StarCraft. So when StarCraft 2 came out, I immediately started focusing on that game as well.
Awesome. All right, let's talk a little bit about you playing Zerg as a Zerg player. How would you classify your style to me?
I play a pretty. I mean, I don't want to give away too much information that other people might be able to like scrounge and find out about. But I would say I'm a pretty defensive player, and I think if people watch my streams, they can kind of tell that. I like to react, which is kind of generic. That's probably what a lot of Zergs like to say. But I like to macro. I really like the late game. So I try to get to late game if possible, but if I can end it in mid game or early game, I'll still do it.
So then, what's your favorite matchup right now?
My favorite matchup has always been Zerg versus Protoss. I think ever since like several months now. For some reason, that matchup just like makes a lot more sense to me than all the other ones. It just clicks, and it's always been my best matchup as well. And so, yeah, that's my favorite matchup for sure. ZVT, ZVZ, they keep changing. Sometimes I get a little bit lost in one of them, but just keep switching. So I still like to play both those matchups, but ZVP is definitely my most solid matchup for sure.
All right. Let's start like kind of transitioning over to WCS and BWC. You have a little bit different road because you did compete in WCS, you qualified for the North American Finals, but you're actually replacing a Stogie.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, tell me about when you found out that you were going to replace a Stogie. Like, how did that make you feel?
Well, first of all, I found out maybe a month ago that he might not be able to participate. At that point, I still didn't know if I was going to be able to participate either. But eventually, yeah, he confirmed that he wasn't going to be able to make it. And I feel bad because I know he really wants to be there, but he has obligations with school as well. He's doing a very, very competitive business program at his school, I think, and that's why he can't make it. So I feel really bad because he definitely deserves to be there, and he's a great player, and he's also a hardworking student. So it's kind of the similar situation to me. Thankfully, like it just so happened that Thursday and Fridays for me, I don't have too many classes, so I was able to replace him. But I also know that he's actually supporting me quite a bit because he's saying that I'm taking his spot, so I have to I had to represent him basically. So he's cheering me on. So I'm glad to know that he's still supportive of me, even though I did take his spot.
I mean, that was kind of going to be my next question. I was going to phrase it a little bit more like, well, since you're taking over Stogie's spot, it's at least it's kind of a Zerg for a Zerg. But do you feel any more pressure? Like I've got to at least make a Stogie proud and USA proud.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try. Both for the country, for USA, and for Astoji. Like the soul of Astoji is still with me even when I'm out there.
So if he could just give you your skills for the week or his skills, then you can combine the two and be a super Zerg.
Yeah, it would be double the Zerg.
I mean, you are being familiar with Brood War and even referencing WCG 2008. You're very familiar with the whole concept of sort of the nations tournament. One in which yes, you're fighting for yourself, and it's so very important that you perform well yourself, but you're also kind of representing an entire region really in your play. And there's no doubt about it. When it comes to StarCraft 2, there is a lot of regional pride. What does it mean to you? Like, with WCG kind going in and out, fluctuating in mobile games and stuff like that, and kind of like falling away. Do you see this as like an opportunity to get involved in something that I'm sure you related to during the WCG days?
Yeah, I mean, I really, really was impressed by Blizzard's prerogative to run WCS, and I think it's been, the best tournaments run so far. And you notice this at DreamHack Europe, for example, the WCS Europe. They had like 100,000 viewers. It's really, really awesome because it gives people the opportunity to go and compete at tournaments that they wouldn't otherwise be able to participate in. And you get all that regional pride that you're talking about. And so you know that at WCS Shanghai, there's going to be a lot of people watching, and there's going to be a lot of people rooting for their favorite players from their region who are representing them. So I think WCS is, a great, great initiative by Blizzard. And I hope they continue it in the future because it's just a great opportunity for a lot of new players and
Right.
other players to get exposed.
Absolutely. So what's your family think about WCS? I mean, think about the fact that obviously, you've been taking a more prominent role in the StarCraft 2 Pro community with joining EG, and I mean, you earned the Breakout Player Award from MLG. You were awarded the Collegiate Star League Excellent in Esports Award, and now you're going and representing the United States in Shanghai. What's their take on all of it?
Yeah, it's kind of at this, originally they were always just hitting on me for playing too many games, and they were not too happy about me playing so many games. But at this point now they've seen that, I can actually compete at somewhat competitive level. So they're actually getting more interested in it, and they're actually they're a little bit supportive of it now. Like they used to be pretty opposed to it, but now they're pretty supportive, and it's nice. They still emphasize, school's your priority. That's still your number one. But they actually are pretty supportive now. And it's really interesting because my mom is from Shanghai, so I've actually got a lot of relatives over there, and they said they were going to come over and come watch a couple games. So it'll be really cool.
Inser said exactly the same thing. He's like, I've got some relatives over there. Family's gonna come, so that's pretty awesome. Now, does that give you? I asked him the same question. Is there any? Is that comforting to you, or is that a little bit added pressure? Because now, it's like, I'm sure the family's like, yeah, Conan's going to be over. He's going to be playing StarCraft 2 in China. So where does that sit with you?
So I mean, it definitely is added pressure for sure, but I think added pressure can make you more motivated to play better. And I think, I don't know, we'll see how I'll do under those circumstances at Dallas in a couple days, because my family, like my parents, are going to be flying down to Dallas with me, and my brother, who's coming over from New York. So
Is this the brother that beat you originally?
yeah.
So is he going to be pretty blown away?
I mean, he's been following. He's been keeping up with it, but
Okay.
he's never been to an event, obviously, and he's actually in med school now. So it's like a cool break for him to come check out, StarCraft event, and it's a little like family reunion thing for us.
Sure.
So hopefully I'll be able to perform well. And it definitely is added pressure because I don't want to just like lose right away in front of them.
Of
I want to do
course.
well. Yeah.
Who does, right?
Yeah.
Who does? They're like, I thought you were good at this gig. It's like, no, you don't understand. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the competition that is going to be there for the BWC. I think this question, of the 31 competitors that you will be up against, who would be the most satisfying to defeat for you?
I would say Major,
Yeah?
because he made some comments. I think it was on State of the. No, it wasn't on State of the Game. It was on one of the talk shows, and basically they were talking about, Ostigi is replaced by Suppy, and then Major's like, yeah, that doesn't matter. So I'd love if I could take him out. That'd be really, really nice. I think it'd be
A little revenge then.
yeah.
Okay. And what do you feel about the racial distribution that we've got? I mean, it's definitely very Protoss and Zerg heavy, which you said you liked PvZ, so you're probably like, yeah, let's get this on. What do you think about the fact there's only 4 Terrans representing, especially when we have such dominating Terrans across the globe?
I don't know, man. I think obviously everybody's been saying that Terran has not been performing as well as they should recently. But I think the Terrans that are there are actually some of the best Terrans in the world. So it's definitely, it makes sense why they're there. I'm not too sure why there weren't as many Terrans. I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be a little weird, but we'll see how they do against all these Zergs and Protosses, I guess.
Yeah. Might be short-lived for the Terrans at
Yeah.
PwC.
Hopefully
So,
not, because I know the people whenever they watch the tournaments and the last Terran gets knocked out, there's always a thread on Reddit like, "No, the last Terran."
it's like you just lost all the Terran viewers.
Yeah.
So which opponents then are you most concerned about? Obviously, you'd most like to kind of beat Major, but who are going to be the most or the opponents that you're most concerned with going into this?
Most concerned about, I probably have to say, I mean, obviously all the Koreans, some other scary people. A lot of these people I actually haven't played really, but some other scary people that I'm a little worried about is Titan because I've played him before and he's really, really good. I think he's kind of underrated actually. And actually, most of the Terrans, because all those Terrans are really scary Terrans and really, really good. So those are another set of group or set of people I'm scared about. And then for the Zergs, I mean, I think it's pretty standard. I'm definitely going to be scared of the top Zergs, who I consider, Scarlet, Stefano. Those are going to be really, really good players that are going to be there. Nurchio. So, yeah.
There are obviously names on here that we all recognize, and you can go and you could probably watch a billion VODs or download replays and really kind of like understand and study some of these players. But there's also quite a few that, maybe you might not be so familiar with. Is there any concern going into this competition, having a few players that maybe not have a rich background or history that you can kind of learn from?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm looking at it right now, actually. There's Calm, who I don't really know about. And then there's a couple, actually, Keswa players who they have some games for sure, but they don't have that many. Levin, I don't know who he is. Looks like he's from Brazil. And then, a couple, even some of the European players, I definitely recognize them and I know who they are. But I haven't watched them as much as I'm not as familiar with them as I am with a lot of the other people. So, for example, Loeli, he did really well at WCS Europe, but I think that was kind of like one of his first events where he did really, really well at. So I think there might be a little bit of limited information on him as well. But yeah, we'll see.
All right. So with obviously some competitors that you can get some down and dirty, do some research on, maybe some that will be a little bit tougher. What is your kind of game plan as far as practicing? Are you just focusing on playing with the teammates? Any particular practice you're trying to get yourself in preparation for the competition?
Yeah, well, I mean, now that you've mentioned that it's mostly Zerg and Protoss, and I actually didn't know it was so skewed until I just took a look at it. But
Surprise!
yeah, I'm definitely gonna focus a lot on Zerg vs Zerg and Zerg vs Protoss. So hopefully practice against Huck, practice against Idra, something like that. Although he might not want to play with me since he's gonna be there too. So
Right.
we'll see. But I think my general game plan is gonna be, because I'm still going to be doing school, I'm just going to try and play more than normal. And hopefully I can stream a lot earlier in the month so I don't have to stream later. And that way people can't study me just right before the event. So, yeah.
Are you looking at the upcoming MLG event as, as sort of a training grounds for going into the Battle.net World Championships?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also a good opportunity for me to kind of figure out how to take care of myself at the event as well, because I know at Raleigh I stayed up until like 3:30 a.m. talking to people, and I didn't have 3 meals a day, and I didn't hydrate. I think it's going to be another chance for me to just make sure I know how to take care of myself to perform the best. So
Sure.
I think it's going to be a good opportunity for me to practice at, and again, just being under the stressful tournament conditions and getting used to that.
So just rewinding a little bit, you'd mentioned about, maybe not necessarily getting to practice as much with Idra because, of course, he would be another Zerg that you'd be going up against. I think it begs the question. You've got Huck, you've got Stefano, yourself, and Idra all representing evil geniuses. In a tournament like this, is it any more of a sting if you have to meet another teammate, or because it's kind of you've got pretty strong representation in, when you consider other teams there, is it just kind of like a morale boosting thing that you've got 4 players there?
I mean, I think it's definitely going to be nice that, all 4 of us are going to be there, and we can, we'll be able to stick together and try and knock out as many people as we can. But yeah, it definitely hurts when you get knocked out by your teammate. And I'm like, definitely, I can say this because at Raleigh, I got knocked out by Huck and Idra at WCS, and I lost twice to Huck in WCS, and I lost once to Idra in MLG and once to Idra in WCS. So it's definitely it still sucks that when you had to team kill, but I think overall it's going to be better for us that we have so many of us there that we're going to be able to boost each other's confidence. When one of us gets knocked out, we're going to be behind the other player and rooting them on and cheering them on. And I think that's really, really helpful in, helping people get motivated and continue playing. Since once one person's knocked out, then it's kind of like the last person who's still in it is fighting for all of us. So
Right. They kind of have to carry that torch, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what would winning the BattleNet World Championships mean to you?
Dude, I don't even know. Like, if I won, I don't know what I would do. It's pretty unlikely. I think a lot of people. I mean, that's pretty. That's probably common or general consensus. But if I won, I don't even know. I would just like fall over and like pass out. I don't know.
We'll have to resuscitate you or something?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let me ask you this. I mean, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, like every competitor wants to go in with the goal to win. But what would be your additional goals for this particular competition? Like, do you want to get this far? Do you, want to beat X players? Or what would your individual goals be then?
I think one of my individual goals is obviously the first and foremost basic one is not to get knocked out immediately. But that's kind of like a negative, pessimistic one. I want to have optimistic goals also. And so, maybe getting first place is going to be kind of a stretch, but I want to go into it thinking that I can get maybe, top 16 maybe. I think one of my goals should be I want to be on main stage and I want to play some good games that are exciting and people are going to be excited about and have a lot of fun watching. So, I want to be that player who can provide entertaining games for the fans. And other goals, I want to just meet people and become friends with people and hopefully, get to know some new people. And maybe we could practice in the future, stuff like that, I guess.
Okay. I mean, you, unlike some of the other folks that are competing, you've been to a lot of events. You've played against some very, very good competitors, but do you feel like this is probably going to be like the biggest test that you've had to date?
Yeah, I think so. The competition at this one is going to be huge. All these players are the top players from all their respective regions, so it's definitely the best versus the best of the very best. So it's going to be a huge test for sure, and I think this is something that's pretty rare and pretty rare opportunity. So it's definitely going to be a very hard, a hard tournament, but hopefully I can pass the test.
All right. Well, Suppy, I mean, it sounds like you're, at least in the right mind frame as far as, going in and competing is. And, even going back since you are a fan of the PVZ, I'm thinking that you might actually get your wish to sort of show your PVZ skills to the world, which is, probably a good thing going into it. But do you have any predictions for the event? I know that's kind of weird to ask a competitor because I just expect everyone to say, "Well, of course, me." But as you sort of study and as you watch other players, is there anyone out there that's just like, "Damn, they're so strong! Like I could see them winning this competition."
Uh, the two people I could see winning the competition, I would say Stefano is one of them, and I could definitely see Scarlett getting top four or something like that. And then the Koreans, I mean, I'm not even that familiar with Koreans, but obviously you always expect them to get pretty far. But I think my two picks for the top foreigners is going to be Scarlett and Stefano.
Great. So I guess a few more questions about the competition. Excuse me. I mean, as we're kind of like getting down to it, you said that you were hoping that you'd see more of these competitions in the future. I mean, I guess in relation to some of the other events, are you excited at the potential for the size of this event? I've heard that like there was probably 10,000 tickets that have sold out. I don't know if you've ever gotten a chance to experience the Chinese esports culture, but it's definitely very passionate and definitely very powerful. What are your general thoughts on that aspect of it? Because I know you've experienced like MLGs and a few other really big events. But this one sounds like it's shaping up to be pretty massive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely really excited for this event, and I've gone to some events, like you said. I went to Anaheim, which was already pretty. I've gone there twice, and it was really, really big both times. And I was pretty amazed at how many people there were. I went to Assembly in Finland, and they had like 3,000 computers in this huge like stadium. So I thought that was really cool. But apparently, DreamHack is even bigger. So this one in Shanghai, I think I'm gonna be blown away by how many people there are. I think because I've seen some pictures of competitions in China in the past, and there are so many people. So it's gonna be really cool, and I hope I can garner some of that energy because I'm one of the two like Chinese Americans, I guess.
Yeah.
It's me and Inser, and then I think there's like Sen and Com or whoever from.
You
But they're
think
from
you
like
might get a little bit extra support because of that?
yeah, I mean, I'm hoping so. Maybe I could like show off some of my Chinese skills too, and then they'll like go all crazy.
I get. You know what, Suppy? I guarantee you, if there's an opportunity to like, give a thank you all the Chinese fans out there in native tongue, I'm sure that have instantly won over their hearts. I think that's a good idea for you.
Yeah, and I've got an advantage over Inser because I've talked to Inser and he can't speak Chinese, so
Oh, I thought maybe he could. Okay, so you're gonna be big balling over there. All right, so I did have a couple questions from chat because a lot of guys know you as Superior Wolf on the Team Liquid forums, but they are like, how did that end up being Suppy? So I felt like I had to ask because enough people were asking about it.
How did Superior Wolf end up being Suppy?
Or where did Suppy come from? Are they related? I don't know. I think people are trying to crack the code here, Suppy, but they're just not making the connection.
I mean, I was just really passionate about StarCraft, and I think you could tell that in my the whole reason I was doing commentaries was because I really liked StarCraft and I was really passionate about it. So even when I stopped doing commentaries, I would just really love the game, so I just kept playing, kept trying to improve, and then eventually I started getting better. And every season I would gain one rank every single season, so I'd be like D, D plus. Eventually I'd be B, and I actually hit B plus at once in Brood War. So I was getting more and more competitive in Brood War. So when StarCraft 2 came around, I was already, I mean, I had the foundations of an RTS background. So I started off at a pretty high level at StarCraft, and then finally, I got a couple good results, and I guess I guess that's where I am now. So it just basically stems from me just. I've really, really enjoyed this game, and I've actually really never considered playing any other game seriously because StarCraft is definitely my game that I'm the most into.
I have one more question before we do our final wrap-ups then. As we've seen Brood War kind of come to an end and you having a history with Brood War, I'm sure obviously like a little piece inside of you kind of like shriveled up a little bit. But now we've got a lot of the Brood War players starting to come over, and there are a couple that are going to be competing in the WCS, or excuse me, the Blizzard, or the Battle.net World Championships, excuse me. Are you happy about that, to see some of these players make their way over and potentially getting the opportunity to play them as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really excited to see them, and I'm really actually happy that they've transitioned, and you can see that they've transitioned pretty well. I mean, a lot of them are already doing very well in tournaments, from GSL to OSL, stuff like that. But yeah, at MLG Anaheim, I actually saw a bunch of my like childhood heroes. I saw Jaedong, Bisu, Flash. Just like, oh my god. Yeah, I think Effort was there too. But I was like too scared to approach them. I should have said something. I don't know, but it's definitely gonna be really cool to see them, because I remember watching them back in like 2010 or even before, and just watching them, and just it felt like there was so much distance between me ever getting into contact with them, or ever meeting them, or ever seeing them at an event, because we're like a whole world apart. But it might finally be possible, and that's in large part thanks to Blizzard doing this awesome international event, World Championship Series, as I mentioned before, bringing people together. It's really, really awesome.
All right, Conan, thank you so much. I want to give you this opportunity to say anything you'd like to say to your fans out there. They're going to be rooting for you in this global competition, and anyone you might want to thank. This time is yours.
All right. I'd like to thank all of my fans out there. Thank you guys for continuing to support me, even though I've been busy recently and maybe not streaming as much. You guys are still always there, and it always makes me really happy to see you guys supporting me. Thank you, DJ Wheat, for interviewing me. It's always a pleasure coming on shows with you. And final shout outs to Evil Geniuses, my team, and our sponsors, Raid Call, Intel Extreme Boards, Steel Series, Monster Energy, Kingston HyperX, Beyond Gaming, Sapphire, and Inwin. Thank you guys for making this all possible. And yeah, thanks to everybody once again.
Awesome. Well, Suppy, good luck. For those of you that want to follow Suppy, of course, you can follow him on Twitter, at EG.Suppy. From there, you can get links to his stream as well. And we wish you luck not only this weekend, but at the Battle.net World Championship, sir. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for me this afternoon. Really want to thank Suppy for taking some time out of his afternoon to sit down and talk a little bit about the upcoming competition. And we'll see you in about 1 month for the Battle.net World Championships for 2012. I'm DJ Wheat, and we'll see you next time. I'm out of here. Peace.